Hello, everyone. My name is Judy Moore Pullen. I'm here to talk with you today about the new John James Signature Collection hand sewing needles. They are manufactured in England, packaged in the US by Colonial Needle Company, and they are a joy to use. They are made of precision engineered steel, and there's a patented coating on the outside of each needle that helps improve the fact that they glide so smoothly, and they help prevent any strain you might have on your hands as you're hand sewing. The points on John James Signature Collection needles are so sharp. They easily pierce your fabric rather than pushing it and distorting your fabric as you're stitching. It makes it easier for you to position your needle also exactly where you want it to be. And so that's another thing that helps enhance your hand sewing experience. As I said, these needles are made in England and packaged by Colonial Needle Company. They come in crystal clear tubes like this. There are 25 hand sewing needles in each tube, plenty for you so you don't run out, and you're welcome to share with your neighbors as well. I'd like to tell you a little bit about each of the kinds of needles that John James has made for the signature collection. First of all, there are the betweens. These are the short, stout, stubby little hand quilting needles. These come in sizes 7 to 11. Let me show you a sample I've made using them. This is hand quilting. It's a way to get those consistent, fine little hand quilting stitches without putting strain on your hands, without your needle bending or breaking. This is the front. And you also get that precision look on the back of your hand quilting projects. Those are the betweens. They also come in sharps, and they're packaged like this. This is sharps, and they come in sizes 7 through 10. To help you remember the size of needles, something that helps me remember is that I'd like to think as I'm getting older and I acquire more birthday candles on my cake, I'm getting finer. So the bigger the number, the finer the hand sewing needle. Now the opposite is true for sewing machine needles, just the opposite. So these sharps hand sewing needles, as I said, come in sizes 7 through 10. They're very versatile. They're longer than the betweens. They're very strong. They glide through your fabrics. They're wonderful if you like to do big stitch quilting. Let's say a pearl cotton size 8. You can easily thread a sharp 7 with a pearl cotton size 8. So this has several names to it. It's called big stitch, primitive stitch, cantha, or slow stitch quilting. So here's the front, and because the points are so sharp and you can so easily pierce through all layers of your quilt sandwich, here's the back. You get those even, consistent stitches. Those sharps are also very good for stitching through denim. If you're doing a hem, if you're doing some embellishing, if you have one of those well-loved, well-worn denim jackets or vests, and you like to add some applique or some kind of embellishments, these are wonderful because they're so strong and the points are so sharp, they glide right through that denim. They're also very good for hand stitching handles on tote bags, bags that people like to create beach bags. If you're taking something to the beach, something on a trip, you could even make your own grocery bags. That would be, if you make them out of something very sturdy, maybe some denim, take them to the grocery, toss them in the laundry. Then I'd like to tell you about the milliners. This is one of my favorites also because I love to do needle turn applique. I really enjoy hand sewing, and it's a treat that I give myself. Now, the milliner's needles, Let me describe those for you. They're longer, they're finer. They can be used for beading because they're so fine. They're also coated with that patented coating that helps them glide right through your fabrics. And these come in a size 10 and a size 11. Remember, the bigger the number, the finer the needle. So the size 11 is a little bit smaller eye and a little bit finer needle than the size 10. If you're doing prepared appliques, your needle pierces the fold of your seam allowance on your applique. They're wonderful if you're working with silks. I love to do hand crazy quilting. And these are some taffetas and some delicate fine fabrics that I've used for some crazy quilting. And I haven't actually done quilting, but I've prepared the front on a backing because the points are so sharp again. They just glide right through. Let's see. Oh, and another thing I want to show you. I tried using the new John James Signature Collection needles, the milliners, for basting my bunny wall hanging. Now, I use the milliners for my needle turn applique. As I said, I love to do needle turn applique. And then I get these long stitches. The needles easily glide through 3 layers of my quilt sandwich, and I can baste instead of using safety pins all over to hold my my layers in place, and that way I don't get my thread caught on my needles. Okay, another thing they're really good for is points, innie and outie points. Okay, I did this with my youngsters when I was teaching. We use a circle. We look for circle templates in the classroom, and we cut out a circle, and then we cut zigzag dragon teeth and laid it on a background, and then pulled it apart, and there you have an egg, a surprise egg. And so I will turn under my seam allowance doing needle turn applique, and then look at these outie and innie points. And those milliners needles, because of the length of them, it's so much nicer to be able to use them as leverage for a needle turn to tuck under that seam allowance. And then I have enough length of the needle to hold on to it to insert the point into the background just under the fold, and then lay my needle down and come right up on the edge of the fold so that my stitches are virtually invisible. Lots of fun to do. Remember, this can be done with paper first with your youngsters, and then you can let them graduate to the fabric. One of the techniques that a successful teacher uses is to set her students up for success. It's not only good for the students, but it makes the teacher feel successful too. So one of the things I'm going to suggest today also is that if you're making up kits for students, insert one of these John James Signature Collection needles in the kit. If you're teaching hand quilting, use a betweens. If you're doing big stitch hand quilting, put in a sharps. If you're doing needle turn applique, add a milliners, or a prepared applique, add a milliners to the kit. And also put the name of the needle in that kit, because that's a good way to ring up some sales from your students and your future customers. The other needle that John James has new on the market is their Signature Collection embroidery needle. And the embroidery needle, as most of you probably know, have that elongated eye, so you can thread several strands of embroidery floss through the eye of the needle. And you can also, if you want to do some play, you can just play around and try a pearl cotton size 12 or a pearl cotton size 16, and then use a contrasting color of 1 or 2 strands of floss to thread through the eye of your embroidery needle. I started hand sewing embroidery when I was at the age of 3 because I was very fortunate to have a little granny in the neighborhood who took me under her wings. So embroidery is something that I have fond, wonderful memories of. And if you set your students up for success, they will also have wonderful memories about doing hand sewing. Another thing that these embroidery needles are good for is smocking. Now, I have not achieved the ability to be good at smocking. I tend to lose count, so it's something I have to do while I'm totally alone. So I haven't achieved that yet, but I still look forward to being able to learn to do hand smocking. And hand smockers, oftentimes we use those fine lawn fabrics or those delicate cottons and use a lot of heirloom fabrics. And because of the patented coating on the John James Signature Collection needles and the sharp points, you don't sever the threads in your fabrics. You pierce and you don't have to worry about creating any loose threads. And they're such a joy to use. They truly are. I also like to use those embroidery needles on some of my some of my embroidery stitches on my crazy quilting. So here I have some lazy daisies, and here I have lazy daisies in a different configuration. And then I have some other stitches just to play. Play is important. Even doing a little running stitch and going back and adding some lazy daisies or some chain stitches or some zigzag stitches help to make it fun. John James Signature Collection needles will enhance the process of your hand sewing. To me, the doing part is just as important as the finished project. I want to enjoy doing it. I want to relax. Sometimes I want to present myself a challenge. And these fine hand sewing needles in their John James Signature Collection are exactly the tools to use. I'm very, very pleased with them. When I first tried them, I said, these are definite winners. So the doing part of a project also helps create a more successful finished project that is show and tell worthy, something you'll be proud of to show your friends and to share with your friends. If you're interested and you'd like some more information or you'd like to place an order, contact checkerdistributors.com. I wish you many happy hours of joy, hand stitching, hand sewing, and sharing the information that you have perhaps received today with your friends, with your quilt shop owners, and with your customers. And thank you for joining me today. I appreciate it. This is Judy Moore Pullen. Bye-bye.